Hey Gator Fitters, Coach Moore here again, and I have a special guest star, my lazy little dog Reggie over here. Say hi, Reg. Hi Gator Fitters. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about training through injury. Over the last 4 weeks or so, I've had some pretty severe shoulder pain here in the AC joint, and it's this little joint where the collarbone and the bone in your back, right across your shoulder blade, meet right here above the shoulder. And you can feel it by, going right across. It's this little bump that's right here. The way you get injuries there is just, most of the time they're repetitious injuries. They can happen via collisions, so, football or hockey, things like that can cause them. But most of them are just kind of sprains, like you would an ankle playing basketball. And in my case, it's probably from just pressing too much. Sometimes in strength training, we ask this little tiny joint to handle heavy loads, and it really wasn't designed to do that. So we can do a couple of things to try and prevent those sorts of injuries. I like to use bands specifically, and these kind of tube bands like this, and especially the kind where you can remove the handle and switch band strengths. This brand in particular I got from Amazon, and I really like it. It's called U-POW X, and it was only $23 for the whole set. There's 5 bands all the way up to 50 pounds. And it has this cool little door anchor that you put between the jamb and the door and shut the door, and when you close it, it's really tight and you can't pull it through or anything like that. So you can actually do workouts anywhere. But what I particularly like about bands and things like that is that you can strengthen the joint and the muscles around the joint without putting as much stress on the joint. So you can go into this range of motion or out here and straight up ahead without loading the joint too much, and you're working those muscles around it. And this is particularly important because of how complex the shoulder is. The shoulder joint itself has, it has 2 joints. It has this one that's right here where the rotator cuff is, and then it has the AC joint where I'm experiencing my pain. And the shoulder joint itself has all these different muscles that lead into it. For example, your bicep leads to the front of it. Your tricep leads to the back of it. Your lat right here leads into the back of it. Your trap, this muscle up here, leads right into the back of it, and your pec leads right into the front of it. So there's all these muscles that make up the movement of this little tiny joint in here. And some ways you can test where you might have AC joint pain. This one in particular is if you put your arm straight up and then turn your hand over like you're pouring water. See, this hurts right now for me. Some other ways you might be able to tell is if you take your arm straight across. This one hurts the most for me. Or straight up ahead like this, and this end range of motion will hurt as well. If you just have a shoulder impingement, which is just a little part of your shoulder that's not functioning properly, one way you can tell that is if you put your hand across like this and then take your arm up, you'll have pain in this range of motion here. Or if you go your arm straight out to the side, you'll be fine until you get to here if it's an AC joint problem. If you're here, this should feel okay. If you get an injury from here, or if you get pain from here to here, this is an impingement issue. But, with all that said, you can try and, prevent some of those things by strengthening those muscles around the joint. But there are a couple of things that have been a positive in this whole injury to my shoulder. First and foremost, it helps me train areas where I was neglecting when I was just strength training, particularly my endurance. Now that I can't do a ton of overhead stuff, at least until my shoulder's better, I'm going to start running more. I'm going to bike more, try to get the heart rate up and work on my endurance. The other thing it's been good for me is taking a look at my training regimen as a whole and finding weaknesses in that, and trying to get rid of those things so I don't have this injury happen again. Maybe decreasing a lot of the pressing days. Or maybe make some of my things like a static hold, maybe where I'm just holding a weight over my head, not necessarily just pressing it. And the other thing that it's helping me do is address shoulder weaknesses. Maybe there's some things I need to start doing post hab when I'm done training, making sure that that joint doesn't become weak and I can keep training. And finally, the most important thing is it's making me, when I first started, I was kind of feeling bad. I'm like, man, I don't want to have to try and train around this. This sucks. But then, I started realizing you can't feel bad for yourself, because when you feel bad for yourself, then you can't make any progress, and it doesn't help you. There's no way around it. You got to rehab it, or you got to get surgery and then rehab it. You just have to take it with a grain of salt and move on about your life. So, what has been helpful for me is being happy about the victories, celebrating the victories. Like, I'll find something that makes my shoulder feel better in the short term. So maybe that day my shoulder doesn't feel as bad. That's a victory. I can still train legs, squatting and deadlifting. I love doing both of those exercises. Now, I can't load it real heavy on my back, but I can do other squat versions. So that's a victory. I can still exercise. I just can't necessarily press. So like I said, you don't need to feel bad. Look at the positive of things. If you guys have any questions, or you're trying to find research on injuries and things like that, there's plenty of all that stuff on YouTube. But if you can't sort through it all, let me know, and I can find some stuff, some resources for you, and get that information over to you. You can always reach me at markmoore@tda.com, or you can give me a call at 888-828-4798, extension 2767. And as always, stay Gator Fit.